Do you enjoy watching movies, TV series, reading books, or comics? Do you enjoy going to the theatre, or even performing on stage? Do you enjoy listening to music? I enjoy all of these, and some would say to excess. I love entertainment. How does this relate to my journey of language and literacy? Hello, I am Ishan Harrison, affectionately known as E. And while deciding on a metaphor, I discovered that I am the very hungry caterpillar. I believe this metaphor represents my voracious appetite for literacy and my search for more material encompassing books, comics, movies, music, and theatre. The book mentions all the days of the week, correlating with my progression throughout the years. On his first day, the caterpillar eats through one apple. In my first years, my parents read to me from the little golden books that they purchased almost every fortnight. As they understood the importance of literacy and education, they became salespeople for World Book Encyclopedia and introduced me to Childcraft. On Tuesday, the caterpillar eats through two pears. As I continued through my early years, my parents introduced me to movies at the local drive-in. Snow White was the first film I remember seeing on my 4th birthday. In kindergarten, my favourite time was reading time. On Wednesday, the caterpillar eats through 3 plums. I started primary school in 1979 and was introduced to the Scholastic Book Club. I think I got a book every time an order was made. I also attended the local Seventh-day Adventist church, where my vocabulary was expanded even further. On Thursday, the caterpillar eats through 4 strawberries. In primary school, I was admitted to the advanced reading class. On Friday, the caterpillar eats through 5 oranges. As I progressed in school, I also began reading the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Prior to age 9, I also developed an avid interest in afternoon TV on the ABC. The caterpillar eats through the same type of food on each day. During my early preschool and primary school years, I also read the same type of books, generally suitable to my age level. However, on Saturday, the caterpillar eats through 10 different foods. When I reached Year 5, I had already read the entire school syllabus and also aced all the spelling tests up to Year 7 level, courtesy of my word book. After this, I had my teacher encourage me to read from her bookcase. I discovered Choose Your Own Adventure books, and in much the same way as the caterpillar, my tastes were also broadened. From Year 6 to Year 10, I read almost everything I could get my hands on. Lloyd Alexander's Chronicles of Prydain, The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende, Douglas Hill, Enid Blyton and Piers Anthony novels were all favourites. In particular, I enjoyed the fantasy and science fiction genres, but also anything that TV series were based on, and also series based on TV series or books, I also enjoyed. When I was 12 years old, our family bought our first VHS video player, and that also helped broaden my literacy and language horizons even further than I could have imagined. I truly believe that literacy and language isn't just developed by reading and writing, but also by communicating with others, watching TV series or movies, especially from other countries, and listening to music. My parents often played music while growing up from their era, which helped me learn the idioms that they were also used to. After the week in the life of the caterpillar, he goes to bed with a stomachache. During years 11 and 12 in high school, I too suffered a stomachache of sorts. I was overwhelmed with the language required for essays and struggled to put my thoughts on the page in a formal manner in the specified times. On the Sunday, the caterpillar eats his way through a nice green leaf, discovers he isn't little anymore, and builds a cocoon around himself. After finishing exams for Year 12, I too did this, as I took almost an entire year off from work, school, and just enjoyed life. And then I met the woman that was to become my wife. Something had to change, and so the book ends with the caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Much the same as when I finished high school, I thought my journey of language and literacy was complete. It had just transformed into something new. The butterfly still consumes food, and even though I have finished high school, my journey also continues. I started work with Australia Post and was introduced to an almost entirely foreign language. They spoke in acronyms and abbreviations, and I had a steep learning curve to relearn another language. I think the very hungry caterpillar would have had to readjust to life as a butterfly too. During my career with Australia Post, I worked at various locations around Western Australia. When I moved to Derby, up in the West Kimberley region in the north of WA, my literacy and language skills were challenged yet again, as I had to learn how to understand the way the Indigenous people communicated. I also became a manager while at Derby Post Office and learned more language skills pursuant to my new position. In the year 2000, my time with Australia Post ended, or so I thought. I began a new position at Harvey Norman Bunbury in WA's southwest. Another new language and vocabulary was added to my repertoire, that of a salesperson. I also joined the Bunbury Musical Comedy Group and performed in 3 plays, further extending my use of language and literacy. In 2002, I joined Total Telephone as a service manager, and my vocabulary was increased yet again. In 2006, I started work as the night manager for Civic Video, one of my dream jobs where I got to talk about my passion, entertainment, with almost anyone that would listen. In 2012, I changed positions to work at Staples. This was an office supply store, and though I had to rely on my previous vocabulary learnt as a salesperson, it also expanded yet again as I took on store person duties as well. In 2015, my wife and I moved our family of 4 from Western Australia to Victoria to be closer to my wife's parents. In Western Australia, we'd spent a lot of time with my parents. Now it was time for my in-laws. We discovered in Victoria that the vocabulary was a little different than Western Australia. They had a lot of different names for the same things we had in WA. Bindies instead of double Gs, Devon instead of Polony. And I'd like to think that if the very hungry caterpillar, now a butterfly, had flown to another region, he too would have sampled new delicacies. During this time, my 2 daughters were homeschooled, primarily by my wife, but I also helped, especially with language and literacy issues, in providing movies and TV series that would help them in their education. I like to think that the colours of the butterfly are the same colours as the food he consumed as a caterpillar, and now he spreads that wisdom all around. Now that I have started university to begin my career in teaching, I'd like to think that is what I will do also. Thank you for listening.